Thank you for watching the Tank Museum's YouTube channel, and don't forget to subscribe.
This is the M74. By British standards, it's an armoured recovery vehicle. The Americans who built it would call it a tank recovery vehicle. It doesn't really matter, it's a recovery vehicle, and that's all you need to know. It's also very tatty, but try not to notice that. Now, it's on an M4A3 chassis, which alone makes it quite unusual from the Tank Museum's point of view, because we haven't got any other vehicle on the M4A3 chassis, which was the most common one in the United States Army service. That means it's got a Ford V8 in the back, driving through the usual 5-speed synchro mesh gearbox at the front, and the controlled differential steering system. That's common to all Shermans, but it's just the same on this one. Driving to a front sprocket, as you'll see down here. It's got the Easy 8 or E8 suspension with the wider tracks, and it's really a much more modern vehicle than you'd think. Although it's a Sherman, it's not, in the M74's case at least, from the Second World War. It's actually from the Korean War. And it was designed purely for its lifting capacity. They wanted an improved, it was more like the M32, which was the armoured recovery vehicle they used during the Second World War. But the M74, they wanted to have a more powerful lifting jib on the front to handle the heavier weights that were coming in with the new tanks. The M26 Pershing, the M47 Patton, that sort of thing. That's really why they wanted to do it. Now, what you've actually got here is an armoured hull, 47mm slope on the front, up to about 108mm of frontal armour, a very modern tank by Sherman standards, but even more modern in the fact that it's a post-war vehicle. And the reason, as I say, was really to improve the quality of it as far as power in lifting and that sort of thing is concerned. It's got 3 mechanised winches. They're all hydraulic winches, actually, but it's in addition to a manual one, which we won't even talk about. There are 3 winches altogether. One of them is the recovery winch for towing. That's a direct towing sort of winch with a sort of capacity of about 40 tons. Then you've got a boom winch, which lifts turrets and engines and that sort of thing off another vehicle. And then you've got this most peculiar thing, the auxiliary winch, which you'll see at the front there. That was used apparently to raise and lower the bulldozer blade at the front. Now, I can't see why that was necessary, since the bulldozer blade's hydraulic, but that's what it was for. And it's got a lift of about 4 tons. So it would lift, and the only picture I've got of one actually in service doing that is with the auxiliary winch attached to the bulldozer blade at the front. So it must have been what it was for, but it does seem odd. It's the only one in the ARV range that they built that has that extra winch on the front. So you've really got 3 winches. Now the boom, which is the main thing, at the moment it's in the stowed position. It's shown hinged and laid well back and linked onto the bracket at the rear, the A-frame. But when it's in use, it's brought forward, hinged on this point until it's sticking up in the air from the front of the tank like this. Then it's got a lift of about, as I say, 11 or 12 tons, and it can pull upwards things like a turret or part of the engine, anything you want from a tank. That's what it's for maintaining a vehicle and doing service. To make it easier to lift vertically, it's got this bulldozer blade on the front. You can use it as an ordinary bulldozer. In other words, lower it down and then scrape around by moving the vehicle, or you can lower it right down until it's pressing hard against the ground, and it provides extra stability for this jib, which is doing the lifting work. Carries a crew of 5, that is the driver, the lap gunner. It's got a 30 caliber machine gun in the hull on the right here. Also, you'll find it has a 50 caliber machine gun usually on the commander's cupola up the top there. So it's quite well armed for a recovery vehicle anyway. And that's about the full details of it. Now the A-frame at the back looks like another jib. It can be used as such, but it's really there to hold up the other things. And the main thing it's holding up, which you can't really see from this angle, but it's holding up the tow bar. And the idea is that if you need to, you can lower the tow bar and use it to hook under a dead vehicle and pull it away. And that's what the A-frame at the back's really for. But at the moment it's acting as a support for the rest of the jib here. Before that goes back and leads down, it rests on that A-frame at the back, and that's how it's supported. They were in service in the United States, in the US Army. They were in service in what was then known as West Germany, which is where this one came from. They were also in service, I think, with the Belgians and one or two other armies. And later on, they ended up in places like Spain, Yugoslavia, and so on, where they were taken into service because they'd run the gamut of their service elsewhere. And that's the only reason they were done. But otherwise, that's what it is. It's on a typical Sherman chassis. It's basically one of the Sherman family, but it's the only Sherman recovery vehicle we've got, and worth a look from that point of view.
We have a fantastic selection of books, models, clothes and other gifts on the Tank Museum online shop. When you buy from our online shop, you are supporting the Tank Museum charity, and that means we can carry on caring for our collection and producing this content. If you have supported us already, thank you very much, subscribe and do keep watching.